5 PC games only 90s kids remember. Welcome, everyone, to the Dr. Blue Duck podcast, a podcast aimed at gaming dads, although everyone's allowed and invited to be a part of the Duck Squad here. So let's go all the way back to 1988. Was anyone even alive back then? Okay, 1988 when there was a thing called DOS. Now, DOS was a huge pain, especially if you weren't very computer literate, because in order to get a program or a game to execute, you had to put in some sort of code, and you were just somehow supposed to know the code. I don't know how. I think my friends told me what to put in there to make a game play, but we had to do that way back in the day, and some of you remember that. So this game was on DOS, came out in 1988, but I played it in the 90s by Interplay Productions, and that is the game Battle Chess. Now, Battle Chess was just epic to a little kid, especially a little kid that was into medieval fantasy and chess. I was really into chess in the 3rd grade. I got to the points where in my class of 3rd graders at a little school in the middle of nowhere that only had 13 kids, I got to the point where in that class I was undefeated. I know, huge bragging rights, right? I was undefeated, and I got to the point where I actually quit playing chess because I didn't want to lose my undefeated title. But when I got home on the PC, I did play chess because I could lose to a computer, and that was Battle Chess. Now, what was so epic about Battle Chess was that when you took out a piece or a character, you didn't just take it off the chessboard, you actually fought it out. Well, you didn't, the computer did. And it was this neat little pseudo video animation that took place, and they weren't always the same. And some of them were comical. Some of them were like really bloody for a little kid, at least in my memory. They were really bloody. And some of them were just wild. So to see those take place on your screen just took the game of chess and brought it to life. Let's move on to the next game here. In 1990, another DOS game. This one was by Distinction Entertainment. And I'm sure some of you remember this racing game called Stunts. Now, Stunts was way before its time. It was before Roblox and Minecraft and all that. And Stunts, you actually not only drove on the track and got to race on the track with these very geometric shaped graphics, but you also got to build your own tracks and drive on the tracks that you built, which was just so ahead of its time. And I remember just creating all these very unique, interesting tracks. One of them even had a loop, and you could go through and try to do loop after loop after loop. It was just great. A real time to just be creative in the early 90s there. Now let's go ahead and go all the way to 1991 here with this game. It was not on DOS, it was on Win16. Yeah, that'll throw you back. Win16. And it was a game made by Chris Perry. And this game is called, I know a lot of you would totally know what I'm talking about here if you saw it. And here it is, Ski Free. Ski Free. Now, Ski Free was a game that a lot of people played. I think it was free, and you just played with your mouse, and you're this little guy skiing down a slope. And sometimes you go off a little ramp and you get air, and it felt really just like you were flying when you got air. And so you have to dodge trees and other little obstacles. And then out of the blue, if you played for too long, this crazy Yeti would just run onto the screen and just get you. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I guess a Yeti got me. So I love that game. I remember playing it. It was just one of those games where a time waster, but it just looked neat, kind of had that stick figure style. Now, this next game came out in 1993. It was a DOS game, and it came out from id Software. I used to think it was ID Software when I was a kid. id Software. And of course, this is the epic game Doom. Now, Doom was kind of a controversial game in my household because there was demons in it. And I tried to convince my parents that I wasn't playing with the demons. I wasn't on the demon side, that I was destroying the demons with these weapons, and which we were, right? So they kind of, did the thing that parents do. And they said, we're not going to tell you that you can't play this game. we're going to leave it up to you. We know you'll do the right thing. So there was seasons in my life where I would play the game and then feel guilty, delete it from the hard drive, and then reinstall, and then delete and reinstall. So now if you look at the 1993 Doom compared to the other Dooms and all the other games out there, it is quite mild. So let's go to the last game that I have on this list. And if you were a 90s kid gamer, you would definitely remember this. Warcraft. Orcs and Humans, which came out in 1994, DOS game as well, of course, by Blizzard Entertainment. And Warcraft was kind of a strategy game where you could choose to be the orcs or the humans. Of course, I always like to be the humans. I want to be a good guy. And you would set up a base. You would go into the darkness or the fog and explore. And you would fight these orcs and set up walls and a town and farmlands and soldiers and archers and all of this to protect your village. And then you would explore out and try to take over the orcs village or the enemy's village. Now, that was the standard way to play. Remember, this was before there was like online play. That was a standard way to play, but I kind of added my own rules. What I would do is try to build up my little kingdom with walls and strategically placed archers with soldiers, and try to set it up so when the orcs came and attacked my village, my kingdom, that the computer, just the way everything was set up, would hold off the orcs without me having to interact at all with the game. So I would set everything up, walk away, and then just come back and check on it just to make sure it was still going and my town or kingdom was still surviving. And I would, try to see how long I could beat my record from the previous time. So it was fun. It was fun. Yeah. I didn't have a lot of friends back then. So anyways, those are 5 PC games that I played as a kid in the early 90s. And it was a blast back then playing and just looking at these games and revisiting them. There's just so much nostalgia involved. And I think about it, they're neat games and they were fun games, but I don't think we often miss the games per se. I think sometimes we miss the times when we played those games, and we miss how things were back then, and we miss maybe the innocence of it all, and we miss people who were there then and who are not there now. So I think the nostalgia that comes with games isn't necessarily because the games were so amazing, but the connection to the times and the people in those times when we played those games. So I think some of you are picking up on kind of what I'm trying to say, what I kind of mean there, that it's not so much the games, but the times when we played those games and the people that were with us. So anyways, thanks for hanging out today on this episode. And as always, guys, be kind, use your minds, and game on.